They were born without arms. 10 years later, they shocked everyone. Jalissa Austin, 31, and Chasity Young, 32, were both born with severe physical and intellectual limitations. While Jalissa is only 3 foot 4 inches tall, Chasity was born with no arms and no knees. Growing up, the women actually believed they were alone in the world who suffered from such physical disabilities until they discovered each other on television. Thanks to that first encounter, they are now best friends. Jalissa Austin was born without arms or knees, and she only has 7 toes, which is the result of a congenital condition known as tetra-amelia syndrome. While Chasity, who is 32, was born with a rare congenital disease that left her without hands and with extremely short legs. The two women met each other after they shared their experiences in the media. When they first saw each other face to face, it was the first time either of them had met anybody who was like them. The minute they met was among the most emotional moments of their lives. It was even documented on film. Chasity had to say, "I saw Julius's tail and it made me cry. I was thinking to myself, I can't be the only person on the face of the planet who doesn't have arms. What happened to them?" And that's when Jalissa confirmed that there was in fact someone who shared the same struggle she had to go through within life. She said in an interview, "I have to track her down. I thought to myself, in the absence of other people who look like you, it can feel as though you're the only person on the planet who thinks like you. Everyone requires a sense of self. I'm overjoyed to have met Jalissa since it means I now have someone with whom I can identify." She continued, "The fact is we all belong to a family and we all have pails. Those are the times when you need someone like you because we all have our own challenges that others will never be able to understand." Doctors warned Jalissa that she would never be able to lead a regular life, and even now, she's still uncertain of what caused her abnormalities, all while proving everyone wrong as she learned to use her feet to perform her daily routine duties, from brushing her teeth to sending text messages on her phone and cooking her own food. There is actually a great number of people who are unable to express themselves fully in a world so judgmental and limiting. You must be true to yourself and express gratitude. That's exactly what Chasity and I are doing right now, says Chasity. Both women have been the target of a great deal of looking and pointing in public places. However, despite people's looks, the women quickly learn to ignore their detractors and maintain a cheerful attitude with those who matter the most to them. Chasity continues saying, "I enjoy it when kids come up to me and say things like, 'Hey woman, what's up? Where's your hands at? Why are you so little like me?'" She then added, "We'll be able to have a talk. I make a conscious effort not to be offended. I don't refer to it as a disability because that implies that something is preventing you from doing anything else. It makes it difficult to move from point A to point B. However, I've made it whatever you want to call it, a B, C, D, E, F, G, you name it." Jalissa and Chasity have gotten thousands of followers on their social media pages, and they are eternally grateful to the Barcroft television series, called Born Different, for bringing them together in the first place. "I really appreciate what Barcroft TV is doing." Chasity expressed her gratitude with the channel. She said, "My experience with them has been nothing short of spectacular. I hope they continue to assist in raising awareness. I said I've really enjoyed the difference in sharing my tale." Jalissa went on to say thanks to being born different, she received an overwhelming number of encouraging notes. She was most overjoyed with all the love she received from everyone who contacted her. Chasity, along with her best friend Jalissa, continues to be an advocate for people with disabilities and is currently assisting others in learning to appreciate their bodies despite what people may say. Chastity's fiancé stated in one of her talks that being an advocate for people with disabilities was a very important part of his life, and it is something that consisted of a very important part of his life. He also says that the two of them are overjoyed to have finally met in person for the first time and are currently looking forward to continuing their connection when they get married. He further says, "I'm confident in the future for me and Chasity." Jalissa continued, "We're going to be pals forever nonetheless." In the tales of people with odd body disabilities, there was another man, Nick Bajusik, who was born with tetra-amelia syndrome. Living without members provides us with genuine reason to be hopeful despite life's toughest challenges. This Australian man who was born with tetra-amelia syndrome inspires millions of people every day through his content. Nick has not only been able to establish quite a good family life, He has also published several books that serve as a constant reminder to all of us that nothing is impossible. His books also remind us that we are the ones able to create obstacles for ourselves. Vajusik continues to tour the world, offering his advice and sharing his story with others, assisting them in finding their way through life with his motivational talks and inspiring story. But let's first see what Amelia syndrome is. It is extremely rare to be born with all the 4 limbs missing, and this is what's commonly known as tetra amelia syndrome. The said condition can also result in severe deformities of other sections of the body, including the face, head, heart, the neurological system, skeleton, and even genitalia, among other areas of concern. A lot of people have also had underdeveloped lungs due to the condition. This only makes breathing extremely difficult or impossible in many situations. Because of the great medical challenges and torments that children with tetraamelia syndrome suffer from, the vast majority of them are either stillborn or die shortly after birth. Within a single family, the disorder has been linked to a mutation in the WNT3 gene, and it seems to be inherited in an autosomal recessive manner. Treatment for those who survive depends almost entirely on the prevalence and severity of the associated symptoms. It may sometimes even necessitate the collaboration of a multidisciplinary team of specialists in order to be effective. People suffering from the same condition may not exhibit all the symptoms. There is a database known as the Human Phenotype Ontology (HPO), which actually contains the data that was used to compile the reports. It is the responsibility of the HPO to gather information on symptoms that have been reported in medical resources diagnosis to enlarge the database. It is also possible to make a clinical diagnosis of tetraamelia syndrome based on observable features. This is usually done during a regular prenatal ultrasound. Despite the fact that the WNT3 gene has been linked to tetraamelia syndrome, the mutation detection frequency is still unknown. This is mainly due to the small number of families that have been analyzed. It's almost possible to obtain information on tetraamelia syndrome genetic tests through the Genetic Testing Registry. Patients who have any particular questions regarding a genetic test should speak with their healthcare practitioner or a genetics professional for assistance and medical advice. In addition to that, you can also seek it from doctors or other healthcare professionals who have dealt with similar cases in their previous roles. Besides medical assistance, the advocacy organizations and clinical studies and publications published in medical journals are all good places to start looking for these specialists. Also, you should consider contacting a university or tertiary medical facility available in your area. This kind of facilities are more likely to deal with difficult situations and have access to the most up-to-date technology. They have also access to therapy. In the case you are unable to locate a specialist in your area, consider contacting national or international professionals. In the case you cannot make it to them in person for treatment, information that is in-depth full-text papers, written by experts, and published in peer-reviewed journals are available on Gene Reviews. These articles describe in detail how genetic testing can be used in the diagnosis, management, and genetic counseling of patients with certain inherited disorders. It is the Monarch Initiative's goal to gather together data on this illness from humans and other species to assist clinicians and biological researchers. The tools that are provided by Monarch are intended to make it easier to compare the signs and symptoms of different diseases and to identify the common characteristics. And if you are suffering from these syndromes, do not hesitate to get in touch with the associations and groups. Being part of a community always helps dealing with life difficulties, especially when the entire world seems to be against you.